Shalom. How are you all doing? So glad you guys can all make it. Today we'll be continuing our reading through First Kings, and we're going to have the format a little bit differently, a little bit different for tonight, or today, whatever the case may be for you. And yeah, I've got Ziggy's here with us. Ziggy. And he has my left arm immobile right now, so this will just be, we'll call this a right-handed teaching. That's when Ziggy interferes and I only have my right hand to teach you guys. So, all right, Avinu Malkeinu, ta'azer la'otanu lilmod tov ve'emecha. Ma אנחנו רוצים ללמוד טוב, מה אנחנו אוהבים את שמך וגם את דבריך. Okay, let's get started. So I think you can see that pointer well enough. I don't think I need, well, maybe I should, let's open up the mouse thing real quickly. There we go. And maybe we make this guy purple. Sorry if I'm talking too quietly. I'll try to make it louder. Is that the, yeah, like that. Oh, yeah, I think that'd be good. Okay, let's see. Boom. Oh, well, it's not really. Why is it? Oh, yeah, here. That's what I do. Yeah, I like how that looks. Well, does that not stand out enough? Here, let me pause. There we go. I like that one. All right, so continuing on, this is First Kings chapter 15, verse 19. And it says, Brit beini uveinkha bein uvein avikha hineh shalachti leikh shochad kesef leikh chayalim et britkha et Basha melekh Yisrael mei'alai. Alrighty. So let's translate. So brit, you should know beit resh yod tav. If you're just listening, I'm trying to keep you guys in mind as well. So that's a covenant. Brit, a covenant. It's an agreement, right? It can be a treaty, depending on context, right? So maybe we'll say a treaty. Brit, a treaty. Beini. So bein, beit yod nun means between. The yod ending at the end means me. Between me, uveinkha. U is and. Remember why it's an u here instead of a v? When you have the conjunction vav in front of a bump shwa, that's in front of a b, m, p, or a letter that has a shwa under it, then it becomes the u. That's what the u in bump is for. So we have a beit, so it's u. And you'll notice this is also the word bein, meaning between. The first one says beini, and it's a bull because it's preceded by the tav. This one is uvein. So the beit lost its b-ness and became v. That's because this is what we call a Begadkefat letter. And you could search this channel for that term, Begadkefat, and you'll find teachings explaining it, right? So basically that's what's happening. And so they're affecting each other, right? The beit affects the vav and makes it an and then because he's an he affects the beit and makes it a veit. Uveinkha, and between you. Bein, between avi, that's the father of my father. Uvein, and between avikha, the father of you. Hineh, behold, look, check it out. Shalachti. So the verb is shalach. Shin lamed chet, which is to send, and the ti tov, tav yod at the end tells us it's oh, excuse me. I'm sorry I didn't get mute. The mute on this microphone is not trustworthy, so sorry, Ziggy. Go back to sleep. I can't trust it really. So if I mute it, I might not get it unmuted. and between, and okay, I'm sorry, shalachti, and I sent leikh to you. Shochad, sheen, chet, dalet. Now, this can just be like a gift, like a present. Eine Geschenk. Ich weiß, das Harrison studiert jetzt Deutsch. In dem deutschen Sprache, das heißt Geschenk. But it can also be a bribe, depending on context, right? Certainly he's not saying a bribe. Saying, I sent you a gift. It's a shochad. I sent you a shochad, a gift. Kesef. Kaf. Samech. Pei Sophie. That means silver. Ve zahav. And gold. Zion. Hey. Vav. Pardon me, beit. Vav. Leikh. So here we have an imperative. I should have colorized that as imperative. Let me see here. Hold on. How awesome is that? I introduced recently the imperative highlighting that I like to use. So it's from the verb halach. Hey lamed kaf, which means to walk or go. The hey is gone, and this is the imperative talking to a man. Leikh, go. Haferah. Hey, pei, reish. Hey, another imperative. There, marked as imperative also. Now, in this program where I'm marking things, I can't colorize it as specifically as I do with you guys, like certain letters a certain color. So sorry about that. Now, the verbal root is para, pei, reish, reish. That's what we call a gem in it. When you have two of the three root letters are the same, oftentimes one will disappear. And that's what happened here. We're left only with the pei and the reish. Okay? So that's all that's left from the root. The pei and the reish. Okay? So this is a hifil. That's why there's a hey in the front. So the hifil form of this verb means to break, to annul, to render useless. Foil, yeah. And the hey at the end, this is what we call an emphatic hey. This is just making it stronger. There's like a little exclamation point. You can think of it as an exclamation point in the end, right? So don't confuse it with the feminine hey, right? It's actually like an emphatic, okay? So, leikh, go. Haferah, render annul, right? Make it, treat it as useless. Break, violate. Et, we don't translate. Britkha, the covenant of you, your covenant or your agreement, your treaty. Et, and in this case, don't confuse this et with this et. They look the same. They are homographs. Sorry if you're just listening. Leikh haferah, et is the DDO, the direct object marker. Go, break, et, we don't translate. What are you going to break? Britkha. If it was just brit, like a covenant, we wouldn't need et. This only comes when that word is definite, but it's got the cha at the end. Your agreement, your treaty. The second one, the second et, you can tell by context, even though they look the same, is with. Break your covenant with. Basha. That guy, okay? Melekh, Yisrael. This is a construct chain because the last word is definite. The whole chain is definite. The melekh, the king of Yisrael. Vayakh, mei'alai. So the verb is ayin lamed hey, which is to do or to make. The yod in the beginning is telling us it's he, right? He. And arei is he will go, he will make. And the vav here doesn't really change it. It's not really conversing anything, right? So ve is that arei, he may go up. The idea is like to depart. May mem with a tere under it. This is a may because we can't put a dagesh in the next letter. We can't say min with the noon being assimilated into an ayin, right? So may alai. So from with me or from upon me. So he wants Basha to go away. Okay. How you guys doing? Any comments or questions? So let's read it again. This time try to translate before I do. Brit, beini, uveinkha. The rit, a treaty a treaty, kind of like the treaty that the United States and the United Kingdom, and ironically Russia, made with Ukraine, where we promised to give them security assurances if they would sell probably the most valuable thing in the world, which was the second or the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world. We promised to protect them if someone tried to invade them. If only you get rid of this giant ICBM stockpile and nuclear submarines with nuclear launch ability, all this stuff. Oh, I bet they wish they hadn't done that now, don't they? And we didn't defend them, but at least we're selling them some weapons, and people complain about it now. Complain about, oh, why are we defending them? We kind of promised, and we're not really keeping our promise. It's not bad. We didn't have to lose any blood. We didn't have to really defend. Just giving some weapons. Yeah, just giving some weapons. How easy it is to lose our honor and forget our promises to people or to nations. Sad, but true. So, brit, an agreement, a treaty, beini, between me, and between mei'alai, you, bein, between the father of me, uvein, and between avikha, the father of cha. Some people get confused. Why is the yod there and avi, right? This is kind of it's a vestigial hold on to ancient Hebrew. In ancient Hebrew, the language actually had cases like Ugaritic does, case endings. Russian and German, all language have case endings. It's an ending on a word that tells you how the word is used, right? So this is an old genitive form. For those of you who are into language and stuff, I know Maeve will probably appreciate this with her goodness Hungarian, learning Hungarian. And talk about overachieving in languages. So avi is already father of, right? It's a genitive ending, an old genitive ending, and then father of cha, of you, right? So in ancient Hebrew, you would have had lots of those yods at the end, meaning of, right? You understand? Okay. This later developed into what we see with the masculine plural genitive or construct ending when the mem falls away. We still have the yod there, right? So there's still some kind of hint. It's of, right? So of cha, of you, avikha. Just like the Messiah taught us when we pray, oh, he's getting up and showing himself, not to pray to Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, not to say God's name aloud, but to say Avinu, our Father, right? So for all of our Hebrew roots friends out there, and I do consider you friends, just as I consider Orthodox Jews friends, and I consider our Christian sects who are here from various denominations, you're our friends. All of you who love the God of Israel are friends. But I would just lovingly say, and I got corrected by a brother recently that maybe I was too harsh with some of our Hebrew roots brothers recently, and I apologize if I was too harsh on you or if I was sounded too mocking. Okay. It's really not even directed towards the whole Hebrew roots. It's just the sacred namers, right? Those who insist on saying the divine name. I would like to challenge you to find me one place in the New Testament where Yeshua spoke the sacred name aloud, or in all of the Gospels, or even the whole New Testament where any of the disciples did, right? Because it sure seems to me like you're kind of inventing your own practice to try to say the divine name often when there's not a single instance of it in the entire apostolic writings, the so-called New Testament. Okay, so if you can find it, show it to me. I'd love to see it. Instead, what I see as someone who studied the Jewish Greek there, and again, not to bang my chest, but I'm just sharing with you so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. I can read the Johannine literature without a dictionary, usually just reading it and understanding it. Okay, that's where I'm at. I'm not as far as I'd like to be with my Greek. Some of the stuff in Paul I find quite tricky, but all the stuff by John, by Yochanan, I can read it and I can understand it without thinking in English. Okay, just go through and got it. So with that experience that I have, I can tell you that they follow the tradition of saying, wait for it, Adonai, Adonai. Because whenever one might expect the tetragrammaton, guess what the disciples did? Guess what the apostles did? They wrote in Jewish Greek, kurios, which is a translation of Adon, like Adonai. You see? Lord. The all capitals Lord. The Christians got it right for so long in their translations. Even in Russian, goes forward very big, or in German, hail, it'll say all big letters. I love that you guys have done that you cared to think that Jews might actually know something about what it means to keep the sacred name sacred. Okay? So I don't mean this in a mocking way, but I just mean if the disciples in the entire New Testament never wrote down Yod He Wav He, and you can write it in Greek, how to say his name. There's Greek writings that have it written down, extra biblical. And it confirms the kind of classical Christian understanding of what the name is, starting with a Wa, starting with a Ya, and then there's more to it after that. Okay? And having a W, and then there's no V, guaranteed no V. So please accept my apology if I came off too strong. Not my intent. It's when you're just kind of teaching on the fly like this. Sometimes, not having a teleprompter or something. I've got a friend who's a great teacher, and he scripts everything. He types it all up in a Word document and just reads what he's going to teach, right? And that's fine. You can do that. The advantage to that is not making faux pas as often as I do, and I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff, right? So maybe just have a few words to remind me what I want to say, like bullet points or something. So my apologies if I offended any of you for that. But I would also challenge you. Do you really think you know better than the disciples did? Than all the disciples post resurrection? You really think you know better than the Messiah knew? And that he never spoke. He told us how to pray. So when you pray, say Avinu. He didn't say Yod He Wav He. All right. So especially if anybody thinks it's a sin, I know some of the sacred neighbors think it's a sin to not say the divine name out loud. I would just say you're not strong enough in Hebrew yet. When you read those translations of verses that say about his name, it means reputation, it means his fame, it means the knowledge of his mighty deeds, and it means his authority. And sometimes it hyper literally means name. Okay? So, all right, continue on. Hineh, behold, like Avram Avinu said, Hineni, here am I. Shalachti, sent I leikh to you. A shochad, shin, chet, dalet, if you're just listening. A shochad, a gift, a geshenk. Kesef, v'zahav, silver and gold. Leikh, that's from halach, command form, and imperative. Go. Haferah, and break, exclamation point, like break indeed. Or may it be that you will break. Et britkha, your treaty, et Basha, with Basha. Just like Russia broke the treaty they made with Ukraine, where they swindled them out of their nuclear weapons, promising to protect them, to defend them if they're ever attacked by anyone. Well, didn't see that coming. Russia was the one that was going to attack you, so that's why they didn't want you to have those nukes. You'd still have Crimea if you never gave them the nukes. When this happened, I said, what a foolish... I used to tell my Ukrainian friends, you will be invaded by Russia someday. There's just the desire to conquest from Putin, to have an empire. It's too great. And you give up your nukes, you're a hose now. And sure enough, although I thought we would defend them like we promised. I didn't know so many Republicans would be complaining, oh, we're sending money. How much do you think the world's second or third largest nuclear arsenal would be worth today on the black market? I'm just curious. How many hundreds of trillions of dollars would that be worth to somebody? Just curious. We got a good deal to not send soldiers, to not really give true security protections, just to give weapons. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. So all of this Ukraine's ripping us off talk. Come on. Come on, wake up. Let's be honest. And I'm a Trump supporter, but he's got this one wrong. He's got this one wrong. Everybody conveniently forgets about the promise we made. Melekh Yisrael, the brit we made with Ukraine, the king of Israel, arei, that he may go up, mei'alai, from literally with me. Remember, it doesn't always just mean upon. A lot of people, they just learn one word in a gloss. That's problematic if you do that in Hebrew, okay? You need to learn a few, especially with prepositions. This is a preposition, and as a polyglot, I will share with you that no language has a correct one-to-one mapping for every single meaning of a preposition. They're always fluid like this. It's not just a Hebrew problem, okay? So just so you know, these are the kind of words that like fill in the gaps to connect things. Okay, how'd you guys do? Any comments or questions? All right, let me just read through it at normal pace. Brit beini uveinkha, bein avikha. Hineh, shalachti lecha shochad, kesef, leikh, haferah et britkha, et Basha, melekh Yisrael, mei'alai. All right, verse 20. I'm going to scroll 19 off the screen, so if you need to take a screenshot, do it now. It's going in 3 seconds. 2, 1. By the way, how awesome is that Elon Musk's company, one of his companies, has rescued the American astronauts that were abandoned by the Biden administration for, what is it, 6 months those guys are up there, or 9 months longer than the just. Whew. I'd be getting tired of zero G, I think, in that time. I'm so grateful for Elon Musk that God has sent such an amazing person to help the United States and to help our allies. I would just like to point out that he went to Hebrew school when he was on Sundays when he was a kid. So that's when Hebrew school usually is. My dad went on Sundays too. You go to shul on Saturday and Hebrew school on Sunday. I'm not saying he's Jewish, but I think studying biblical Hebrew, they weren't studying modern Hebrew. I think it had an effect on him. So, never underestimate. And this is great. If you have some theological disagreements with people, um, you can just teach them Hebrew. You don't have to make the comment. I know I'm a bit bold and I make some comments and I ruffle some feathers. Sorry, guys. You can disagree with me, and I have the right to be wrong on some things. All right, I reserve the right to be wrong. Except I will not recant that driving on the Sabbath day is a grave sin. All right, so there's something that comes up periodically. People seem to forget. Please, please do not drive a gas or diesel powered vehicle, at least on the Sabbath day. All right, it's a sin. It's an absolute sin that requires the death penalty. Okay, so all right, and don't just say, oh well, just the rabbi doesn't have to. No, nobody can do that. If you do that, you're a mecholel Shabbat. You're a Sabbath violator. And people they say, oh, but how are we going to meet on Shabbat if we don't drive? Well, if you care that much about it, there's ways you can find to meet on Shabbat. You can camp out. You can drive Friday before and get a hotel that's within walking distance, or a cheap motel. You can meet just once a month so that that's when you're going to have the meeting. But if it's just going so you can congregate, no, there is no actual commandment for everybody to meet on Shabbat. The commandment that people often abuse, it's for the Levites, right? Now, we should meet on Shabbat if we can, of course. If you live in an Erev or something, great. But if you're driving a vehicle, please reconsider. Please reconsider. Messianics and Hebrew roots, mostly I'm talking to you, because most Jews don't violate this. I mean, most religious Jews. Don't think about it. You're not supposed to kindle a flame. You're kindling thousands of flames per minute, right, in a combustion engine. You're not you're not supposed to make somebody mad on the Sabbath day. You don't think you're going to make anybody mad when you're driving a motor vehicle? Chances are pretty high. And then, as part of Tikkun Olam, as part of the ethos of Jewish culture, we don't kill on Sabbath. We don't even kill bugs if we can help it. All right. I will admit, with mosquitoes, I'm merciless. Because it's a pekuach nefesh here in the Philippines. If a mosquito bites you, you could get dengue, lo aleinu, and that can be a life-threatening disease. So, I'm sorry, I'm swatting a mosquito when I see one, so it doesn't hurt me or my loved ones. But as far as the bugs are just dying on your windshield, you're doing that on Shabbat, really? That's how you're making it holy? And what if you run out of gas, or your vehicle has a problem, or somebody crashes into you, have an accident, or you hit an animal, God forbid, a dog or a cat? Or what if you go to the gas station, get some gas, or you just forget yourself, or you forget to signal and make somebody mad, or somebody makes you mad? It's not Shabbistic. I really want to challenge you. I know most Messianic Jews drive on Shabbat. It's a shame, but most Messianic Jews are just basically like Reform Jews or conservative Jews who believe in Messiah. And a lot of times it's basically just Christianity, eating bagels and meeting on Sabbath, and then going out to the restaurant after the Sabbath sermon's done and making people work at the restaurant. Hey, you're fellowshipping, right? Come on. It's time to grow up. It's time to do more. It's time to really care about. I'm not saying you got to do all the stuff, but at least don't violate the Sabbath day, okay? I think this is why people had to meet. I think this is why when Paulos is giving a sermon late into the night, Saturday night, right? There was Motzi Shabbos. I think what happened was the early believers in the Messiah, they couldn't get to each other on Shabbat because it would have violated Shabbat to travel too far to get to each other. And so they waited till they went to a normal synagogue for the Torah study and Torah study. And then at night, I believe they would go, they were so zealous, after Havdalah, they would go and they'd meet and they'd talk about Messiah and messianic things and stuff like that. And that's why that guy falls asleep and falls off the balcony. He's trying to hear Paulos preach, right? And Paulos falls on him and prays for him and he's revived, right? So uh, this is the right way to do it. This is the right way to do it. If you've got the money, my dream is for alcohol to be able to afford a building that has like miniature apartments, like little rooms, dormitories. So, and we've done this before in the past. I've organized this before some years back, where on Friday you could come out on Friday before it got dark, and everybody would sleep at the congregation, and then you do shachrit together, you do mincha together, you do musaf, all the stuff, and then you have you have the Torah service. I'm sorry, after shachrit, or as part of shachrit rather, and then you have the after Havdalah, you have Havdalah together. Then everybody goes home. You've truly kept Shabbat if you're coming from far away, right? So please consider, in my opinion, not insane at least. There's other reasons too that I didn't even get into. All right, so Vayishma ben Hadav. Then son of Hadav, he heard Yishma. He listened El HaMelekh unto the king. Asa. Vayishlach. And he sent et sarei hachayalim. Sarei, it's from Sarim. Sar, it's where we get the Russian word tsar. Actually, it's from Semitic Sar, which is a prince, right? Or it can be like a leader, an official, a captain of hachayalim. Hachayalim, which is like property or um, like prowess. Chayil can mean like wealth, or it can mean like military power, right? Asher who were for him, or who belonged to him, arei Yisrael, over the cities. This is from which is city, arei, cities of Yisrael, of Israel. Vayakh. Now this is kind of a hard word. It's actually Maakhah. It's what we call a doubly weak verb. So it's a pay noon verb, which means the first of the three root letters is a noon, and that often disappears. And it's a lamed hey verb, which means the last verbal position ends in a hey, and that disappears. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to give you the bird. Put the bird there. So we're only left with the kaf. The kaf is the only thing left from this verbal root. The yod at the beginning means he. So yoch means he is smiting or he will smite. But the vav conversive changes it. Vayakh, and he smote. He smote. Et Yon. That's the name of a place. If you're looking, it's gray. Ve'et Dan. Ve'et and Aveil. Beit Maakhah. So Aveil, the house of Maakhah. Remember, this was the Gevira, like the queen mother who was displaced. Ve'et and Kol Kinroth. All of Kinroth. Al Kol Eretz Naphtali. Over Kol, all of the Eretz, the land of Naphtali. Naphtali. That's some big smoting happening. Some smiting indeed. Okay, I'll read it again. This time you try to translate before I do. That was a long verse. That might be our last one. That was pretty long. Vayishma ben Hadav. And Ben Hadav heard, although it seems like it's being used like made heard, like informed, El HaMelekh, unto the king, Asa, Aleph, Samech, Aleph, Vayishlach. So he sent et sarei hachayalim, the the like the lords of might, the lords of the military, right? The lords of strength. Asher, who were lo for him, al, against the arei Yisrael. So this is Judah, right? Going against Israel. Against the cities of Judah. Vayakh, and he smote et Inyon. Inyon, he smote ve'et Dan, ve'et Aveil, Beit, or Beit Maakhah, the house of Maakhah. Ve'et Kol Kinrot, all of Kinrot. al, with kol eretz Naphtali, all of the land of Naphtali. How'd you guys do? Doing okay? How'd you do, Ziggy? Still sleeping. I guess it was boring for Ziggy. Hope you guys are enjoying this. And a special thanks to my patrons. I really appreciate you guys. There is another way. If you want to make a recurring payment that's adjustable how you like, you can do that on Patreon. Or you can also make a one-time payment or a recurring payment over at buymeacoffee.com/Hebrew literacy. If you prefer to do it that way, that's also fine. Much appreciated either way. You guys make this all possible. You make it so I can support my family. And I really, really appreciate you guys. Okay. So just a special thanks. If you didn't check for my patrons, I released yesterday another installment, class number 38 of our Isaiah dominance class. So make sure to check that out. It was Isaiah chapter 3, verses 23 and 24. A lot of interesting words, a little bit of Ugaritic stuff there we get into, Ibn Ezra's take on some stuff. So I hope you'll enjoy that as a special thank you to my monthly supporters. All right. Let me just read one time, normal speed, and then I think we'll be done. Vayishma ben Havav el hamelekh asa, vayishlach et arei hachayalim, asher lo, al arei Yisrael, vayakh et Ayon ve'et Dan ve'et Aveil, beit Maakhah ve'et kol kinroth, al kol eretz Naphtali. You like that, Ziggy? Ziggy likes how it sounds. I think he likes, oh, sleepy boy. Sleepy boy. So I wonder how long this is. I didn't do a stopwatch. Let me check something. I think that's probably a good stopping point. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you're enjoying these lessons. Please give me a shout out. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And keep learning. It's so worth it, Lashon HaKodesh. Don't give up. Don't worry if you're having trouble remembering things. We keep going. We keep going. Give it the time. Give it the commitment. You'll get there. Hashem will help you. Shalom, shalom.